Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
My Dead Grandparents Saved My Dad by Shess Swifty. My dad had a major heart attack a couple months ago. When it happened, he just pulled into our driveway, thank God. My mother went outside to see why it was taking him so long to come inside. He said he was in so much pain and having trouble breathing. She called 911. He started losing consciousness and completely blacked out. The ambulance got there and rushed him to the hospital. He immediately went into surgery. There was a 100% blockage and had 2 stents placed. If the ambulance hadn't arrived when it did, he wouldn't have made it. He was in great health. This came out of nowhere. Now for the crazy part. It took him a while to tell me this. I'm pretty religious or spiritual. I believe in God, and it's something we always talk about. He was never steadfast in faith, but did believe there was something bigger out there. He said when he lost consciousness, he saw the bright white light. When he went to it, he started feeling the most overwhelming sensation of love, pure love and happiness. Then they appeared, his mom and dad. They had the biggest smiles on their faces. He asked, "Mom? Dad?" He felt waves of so much love and warmth. Then all of a sudden their expressions changed to worry. They said, No, it's not your time. It's not time yet. You have to go back. They need you." And just like that, he realized what was happening. He was dying and leaving behind my mom and I, who are both in poor health. He started to panic and fight to get back. He did. He woke up in the ambulance. During all of this, while he was fighting to stay conscious, my mom was with him. She heard him say Mom and Dad, and knew he must have saw them. It makes me cry writing this. I'm so thankful he's still here, and I'm so thankful my grandparents pushed him back. The night before this happened, my physical therapist had a prophetic dream about it. She was the first person I called, and she rushed over to be with me. She already knew something was going to happen. I'll share her dream in the comments if anyone wants to hear it. Okay, so I'm very close with the physical therapist. She comes to my house a couple of times a week, and we've always felt a very strong connection to each other. She's religious and in touch with that part of life. The night before his heart attack, she had a dream that the world was ending and that she had to go fight the Antichrist. She was in an underground bunker with other survivors, and they were putting this super futuristic armor on her when suddenly I show up, and I needed her help. She ripped all the armor off and rushed to my side. I was pale and losing consciousness. She got me on a couch and cared for me until I got stable. She went back to putting the armor on when all of a sudden, my dad walks in, takes the armor, puts it on, and goes outside to fight without saying a word. My physical therapist looks around and asks, "Why? He'll be okay, right?" And a man who seemed to be Jesus said, "Yes, my child, but there will be battles." And she woke up. She knew something was going to happen that day. When I called her and told her, she dropped everything she was doing and rushed over. She told me that dream and just hugged me. I was by myself and I really needed her there. It was all completely amazing and impossible. This is the first time I've written or really talked about any of this. Cliff Diving Gone Wrong by H. Park, 1218. A few years ago, during the summer, I went hiking with my little brothers and a couple of friends. The destination was Hermit Falls, near Los Angeles, which has a cliff about 40 feet or 12 meters. You can jump off from into fairly calm water below. I'd gone there once before with a different group and had a lot of fun, so I decided to take another trip. Anyway, this time around there was a lot of other people around, which for some reason I wasn't expecting. Now, I'd gone cliff diving a couple of times prior. I'd jumped the Hermit Falls cliff twice the last time I'd been there. But this time there was a guy sitting right where people would jump off from. I'm not sure what he was doing, and for a time I thought he was trying to jump but could not gather the courage, so I waited. After waiting for what seemed a good long while, maybe 10-15 minutes, I decided screw it and just ran and jumped off a different part of the cliff. Upon jumping, I felt the familiar falling feeling like the drop of a roller coaster ride. But this time, something went wrong with the landing. I'm not sure exactly what happened. My friend said that I entered the water tilted, with my body leaning forward. I didn't realize at the time, but I briefly lost consciousness upon impact and woke up in the water. I tried swimming upwards, but the impact had made it feel as if I was spinning endlessly. Looking back, it's very possible I was swimming sideways, possibly deeper downwards because of the disorientation. I was holding my breath this entire time, and as I flailed without surfacing, I grew frantic. I heard the sound of another person entering the water, and for a second I thought someone had jumped in to save me, but no one came. In either case, with my last seconds of air, I continued to swim, but I could feel my body running out of air, and my limbs starting to burn. Then darkness like wispy smoke crept from the corners of my eyes and slowly enveloped my vision. As my consciousness began to fade, I could feel that I was losing my hearing, but at the last moment, I heard music. It was like old-time, kind of jazzy music. I distinctly remember the trumpet, and I could hear someone talking. A man. He sounded like those radio hosts in the U.S. from the 50s or 60s. It kind of sounded like he was narrating something, which I didn't know at the time, but I'm now convinced that he was narrating the end of my life. I was suffocating and my limbs were burning, but right before I entered unconsciousness, my body was filled with warmth, and I felt comfort. I was at peace, probably the most pleasant, warm feeling that I had ever experienced. When I came to, 2 men, each grabbed an arm, were dragging me out of the water. They laid me flat on my back on the ground, and I had a killer headache. After I had jumped, someone else had jumped right after me from a smaller cliff. Once he surfaced and I had not, one of the bystanders, an EMT, luckily for me, jumped in to look for me. He found me passed out in the water, and another person had joined in to pull me out. Besides the killer headache that lasted a few hours, I experienced no other negative effects to this day. I'll never forget the experience, though, and I wonder if what I heard and felt was just a result of my brain suffering from hypoxia, or something more. Ruby the Bean's father's near-death experience. I was playing tennis in terrible heat in California when I suddenly developed a severe chest pain. I lied down on the grass and asked my friends to call an ambulance. A Greek guy who was standing by ran into his apartment and called the ambulance. But because of his accent, the 911 dispatcher didn't understand him. Somehow, after a few minutes, a message went to the emergency asking for an ambulance. A few minutes more and I heard an ambulance from a distance coming my way. But then instead of stopping, the ambulance got lost and continued on her way, and I heard the sound getting weaker and weaker as the vehicle was going away in some unknown direction. Apparently, they found out they were headed the wrong way, so they turned around and eventually found me on the grass. When the ambulance missed my location, I was thinking that this would be the end. Then I passed out. I lost consciousness as I was no longer awake, and I saw a tunnel with the light at the end. And I saw both of my parents waiting there for me at the end of the tunnel. It was sort of dark and distant, long. Then, instead of going through the tunnel, I started to walk up towards heaven, from one cloud to another cloud, stepping up and up. As I was walking up the clouds, I felt an extreme lightness of being. The pain stopped, and I had no more chest pain. I felt really well and fine, and I was thinking that from now on, I will have no worries, no bills to pay, and was actually very happy. Suddenly, a huge hand, which could not belong to a human being, because it was as big as a 3-story house, took me by the shirt collar and the back of my neck and pulled me out of the scene. I felt sort of angry, thinking, who is interfering when I'm feeling so good? Then suddenly I heard a voice from some person. If you can hear me, squeeze my hand. So I squeezed the hand, and then I opened my eyes, and I saw I was still lying on the ground, but around me were some people from the ambulance. They then packed me into the ambulance and drove to the nearest hospital. Later on, I found out they shocked me twice with the defibrillator to restart my heart, but I didn't react to it. They thought I was dead and were actually packing their stuff to leave already. Then one young lady said she wanted to try it just once more because she was a beginner and wanted the practice. She came back, shocked me for the 3rd time, and that's when I came back. And I don't remember anything else. So quoth this raven. I hope you enjoyed these stories. I did the first 2 quite a while ago and was waiting for something else to show up that never came through, and I found Ruby the Bean's post and thought it would be perfect to round it out. If you like these sort of things, let me know. If they're not your cup of tea, let me know that too. Thank you all for coming, and a special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Ermin Case and Darren Daw. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.